Satirical advice for first-year trainee accountants, audit clients, and everyone else. Chartered accountants need to be ready to lead the world, the business world, in this economic world war that is raging all around us. But the question is, are we ready? For so many reasons, you need to watch this. Satire is defined as a clever and often humorous way of using irony, sarcasm, exaggeration, or ridicule to criticize or expose flaws, vices, or absurdities in people, institutions, or society as a whole. It serves as both entertainment and social commentary, prompting reflection or sparking change through wit and insight. This is a satirical piece. It is called Advice for First-Year Trainee Accountants and Audit Clients and Everyone Else. So, audit clerks, number 1. When you are on your first job and are eager to make an impression, and they give you your first, most important assignment, which is to make coffee for the audit team, make sure that you make the worst coffee on the planet. Reason being that if you excel at this task, guess who's going to make the coffee for the next 3 years? Number 2. Don't pay any attention to the third years who tell you that they can't wait to get out of this prison sentence called articles, and will constantly remind you that they are at the end of the term, yet yours has just begun. Thirdly, when the third years give you your second most important task, make sure that you excel at it, because you need to make a good impression to ensure that you get put on future jobs, and don't spend your articles warming the chair in the clerk's office, which is your small dedicated space. The second most important task that the third years will give you is to study the medical aid booklet and then tell them which is the best option. Number 4. I hope you don't go through what I went through on my first day of articles. A partner came into the crowded clerk's office, pointed at me and said that I must do a call-over with him. A call-over is one of the most dangerous jobs in the audit profession. It means that you check the glossy financial statements while the other person, in this case the partner, calls out the draft financial statements before they print the 100 plus pages of the glossy financial statements for the shareholders. Now here am I sitting in this office all nervous, and my only job is to just check the numbers he calls out are correct. Easy job, yes? However, I have never seen a person talk so fast in my life. And also, as he was calling out the numbers, he did not even stop to take a breath. The reason a call-over is so important is because if you make a mistake and call out and the call-over does not pick up the error, the 100 pages of the glossy financial statements will go out with errors, and the audit firm and your neck will be on the line. It was even a firing offense. Now that I recall, the partner, in fairness, did pause for 1 second. It was when he inquired if I was keeping up. I wanted to say, what do you think? But it was my first day, and all I could do was give him a thumbs up, because at this stage, I had lost the ability to speak. All my brain could think of was firing offense. Fifthly, when you are given a tax query to deal with, where SARS has said that your client needs to pay a huge amount of tax with penalties and interest, don't be like me and show off your tax skills and write SARS such a compelling letter quoting sections of the Tax Act and cases. SARS then agrees with you and your client's account is zero. Sounds great, right? But if you do this, you will be called in by your manager and told that in future, if there are any queries from SARS for any client, it will be given to you to deal with. Then he tells you that he will give you so much of work to do that you will not know if you are Arthur or Martha. Number 6. Okay, once you get to second year of articles and are now a manager, you will be rewarded with being allocated a section in the audit file, such as debtors section E or income statement section U. For the next 2 months, you will immerse yourself in your section, making sure that the number that you present to the audit balance sheet is 100% correct. However, when the audit partner comes in and looks at the big picture, he informs you that something is wrong with the debtors. Because if you look at the big picture, the figure that you have audited does not make sense. So back to the drawing board. Unfortunately, you as an audit clerk are not exposed to the big picture until it is too late. Number 7. Back in the day, we used to have much fun, such as signing in at the front gate when you arrived at the client's premises and met the friendly security guard. For the section under reason, we wrote theft. And we constantly wrote this. When nobody questioned us, we had our first management comment letter item even before we entered the premises. In addition, when we sat with the finance director, we did our ARPs, analytical review procedures, and we asked him why sales increased by 10%. We then listened to all the reasons that he happily gave us as to why sales increased. We then informed him that we were mistaken and sales were actually down 10% and not up 10%. We then watched him squirm as he struggled to find the reasons for the decline, undoing everything he had just said. And don't be that clerk who arrives at the client for a stock count of roof tiles on the 31st of December, New Year's Eve, and he's so lazy to count that he just takes pictures of the tiles. He thought he was so clever when he presented the pictures as audit evidence, but my word, did he get into trouble. And he became a legend amongst clerks, with people still talking about him even today. Number 3, advice for clients. Never, never, never talk about your holiday or your family or anything else with the audit partner, even if he encourages you to be friendly and break the ice. Reason being that I have seen interactions in the boardroom between the audit partner and the CEO and the FD where they spend an hour just catching up. Dear client, have you seen the partner's charge-out rate? And do you know that you are being billed for breaking the ice? Leave the ice unbroken. You shouldn't even know the audit partner's first name. He doesn't need to know how you slipped when you were skiing in the Swiss Alps, or how well your son did in grade 12 and is now studying actuarial science. Case in point, have you seen the skyscrapers that the audit firms have built and are competing as to who can touch the sky first? Guess who is paying for that building? Incidentally, what really happens inside those buildings? Because we know that clients do not come to visit the auditor, but the auditor is required to be at the clerk's office. Are there open plan offices, as is the global trend, or does each and every clerk have their own office? There can't be a whole floor for the tax department, because we all know that SARS is now so efficient that they have closed almost all of the loopholes. During COVID, were these buildings lying empty? Because last week, one of the auditors was telling me that the last time he was in the office was probably about 4 months ago, because everything can now be done online with electronic work papers, etc. Audit clients, make sure that you know something about the summary of audit differences. Let me explain it to you. It is called the SAD for short. Let me tell you what that means. It means that when the auditor disagrees with what you have done, and we take into account the number you have come up with and the number that we want to have, and we calmly work out the difference, we then smile and take that difference to our summary of audit differences, our SAD. In the end, if the total of that summary of audit differences is material and you don't want to budge, then you will get a qualified audit report, and then you will be the one that is sad, and it's not SAD, it's the real word sad. Seriously though, and this is the point of this talk, the accounting profession has faced criticism for being backward-looking, as it primarily focuses on historical financial information and data, rather than proactively addressing current economic challenges. While accountants play a vital role in ensuring transparency and compliance, their ability to influence broader economic issues like tariffs from the US, which retaliatory tariffs from Canada, the EU, and China, is causing a full-blown economic world war right now and right before our eyes. Every morning when we awake, something new has occurred because Trump has spoken, and how many of us are blissfully unaware of what he had said as we go about our day, not knowing how it is going to impact us personally very shortly, as a worst case scenario, and heaven forbid. But you could be called in and told that you are no longer required because your company is being forced into a cost-cutting exercise due to what is going on in the world. A new wave on April 2nd is being called Liberation Day by Donald Trump, the President of the US. As much as we may hate him or love him, he was in fact correct to remind the condescending reporter that he was not speaking to just anyone. He was speaking to the most powerful person in the world, who has the support of the majority of his people. Next, job losses, high prices, and supply chain disruptions are the order of the day. All industries are being touched. Real wars in Ukraine and Russia and Israel and Palestine are raging as we speak. Share prices are plummeting, as we have seen with a more than 50% drop in Tesla from mid-December 2024 to March 2025. This is just one example. Other companies are facing similar declines. South Africa is being showcased on the world stage by Donald Trump. Words such as terrible things are happening in South Africa have been spoken by him. $5.6 billion of aid has been removed. Social workers have lost their jobs, and people who need medication are now not receiving it due to funding not being available. Our ambassador has been expelled. AGOA negotiations are imminent, and the effect of this in South Africa will be felt all over our economic and financial landscape. Reason being that America is one of our biggest trading partners. There used to be a saying once that when America sneezed, the rest of the world caught a cold. Dodge, the Department of Government Efficiency, is slicing jobs in the US. A South African-born Elon Musk is leading the initiative, which is receiving much media attention. Musk, the richest person in the world, has his own grievances with South Africa. Share prices and indices have faced significant declines, with billions of dollars being wiped out as the financial market factors in the effect that these changes will have on the domestic and global economy. Japan is selling off dollars at an unprecedented pace, and the dominance of the dollar is being called into question in many other instances. Trump has threatened BRICS nations, with the S being South Africa, with 100% tariffs if we move away from the dollar. He has launched attacks against his closest and most trusted neighbor and ally, Canada. So the implication is that he will not hesitate to come after us with all guns blazing. I could go on, but the global financial landscape has changed and is changing. These changes are happening instantaneously. It must also be remembered that Trump has been in office for less than 3 months, and his term is 4 years. I am not on the side of either of the decisions, although I have a strong view. As accountants, as chartered accountants, we are required to be independent and call it as it is without bias, something that I have tried to do with this narrative. Trump's decisions and actions may seem ludicrous to us. However, again, we must remember that he has won the election because he has the support of the majority of his people, and these actions are what he campaigned on, and American people have been told to expect short-term pain with the promise that they will have long-term benefit. So we may not see it, but he obviously has a plan. So maybe we should stop criticizing him, which is so easy to do, but start recognizing that the better course of action will be to put our energy into trying to outmaneuver the obstacles that he has placed in our path, and to plan to maneuver how we will deal with the ones that will be thrown with us tomorrow and in the near future. Case in point, the board meeting that was held recently for you to go through the 31 December 2024 annual results. Did it contain any of these current issues? And how many of these issues will impact the company? Or was it also backward looking? Only you will know. However, my experience is that these thick packs, which are physically impossible for a person to read, only contain stale information. Directors are required to be strategic and to set the path ahead. At the conclusion of your last board meeting, did you set the flight plan? Because if you did not, you have been deficient and negligent, because we are already at the end of the first quarter and was the company flying on autopilot during this quarter? Are you intending to see the Q1 damage only at the next board meeting scheduled for May? Simply, how many pages of your board pack contained current information, and do you think that strategic direction was not needed during one of the most tumultuous quarters of any time? I think we know the answer to that question. Unfortunately, if Trump is the schoolyard bully, then although nobody likes to see the bully win, the reality is that the bully is stronger and faster and fiercer. So for South Africa, what is the destiny of what lies ahead? Warning signs should be flashing brightly, but are you seeing it and hearing it in the cockpit? We have already seen Trump offer refugee status to a portion of our population, whilst we have seen that other people are being forcibly removed from the US, physically and forcibly. Reports indicate that over 70,000 people have expressed interest in Trump's offer, and within hours of the offer being made, in the early hours of our morning, the USSA Department IT system crashed because there were over 20,000 inquiries in a matter of hours. So, are we the Rainbow Nation? Begs the question. Where is the accounting profession whilst this global war is going on? Cycle's website indicates that there are 54,000 chartered accountants, and in a population where we have 54 people, that means that 1 out of every 1,000 people is a chartered accountant. Let me repeat, 1 out of every 1,000. In addition, there is a stat saying that 1 out of 3 of the CEOs on the JSE Top 40 is a chartered accountant. Reason being, chartered accountants are specialists. We are business specialists. We are akin to a brain surgeon or a heart surgeon in the medical field. Although I am the humblest person in the world, the reality is that when people ask you what you do and you say that you are a chartered accountant, it is interesting that they don't ask any further questions. They automatically know what that means. To them it means that you are a specialist, and those letters behind your name speak for themselves. But here is the reality. Our profession has 1. A historical focus. Accounting standards emphasize past performance, which may not provide actionable insights for managing present and economic crises. 2. Limited scope. Accountants are often constrained by regulations and standards which may prevent them from increasing broader economic challenges and from addressing them. Number 3. Impact on business. The profession is focused on compliance and reporting and can sometimes overlook strategic advice that businesses need during crisis. Number 4. Global challenges. Leaks. Issues such as tariffs, job losses, and market volatility require interdisciplinary approaches. Experts, such as us, should at least be flagging these issues as we see it. It does not make any sense for us to be imbued with these skills, whereby only 1 out of 1,000 of us has managed to attain the title of chartered accountants. And then, when we are required to assist in a consistently evolving financial world, where advice is needed by those who are not accountants and who do not understand the situation, we remain silent. Number 5. Evolving role. There is a growing call for accountants to adopt forward-looking practices. In conclusion, I have devoured the news. Why? because we cannot keep our heads buried in the sand. We are not immune to what is going on, especially since we as South Africa have been dragged into the world stage to make a statement on race. Job losses have already occurred globally, and job losses will hit our shores as well if it has not already done so. The scale of such losses will be unprecedented. It is not business as usual out there. As indicated, there is a full-blown economic war going on, and each day it is getting more intense as fresh news breaks. As experts, we cannot allow others, such as economists, traders, and analysts, and news readers, to play the role of showing the pulse of the situation. They have their role to play, but we and our profession need to weigh in on this discussion. It is not the time for silence, and if change is needed for us to uphold cornerstones of our profession, such as relevance and timeliness, then maybe we should consider how we can do this. It cannot take years for clarity. We need to find a way to use the immense expertise that we have been given during our academic and practical training to face the public with relevant and timely information. Imagine the world that we would live in if we could elevate concerns based on current information instead of just historical information. We need to take this challenge head on. In no way am I suggesting that chartered accountants do not look at historical information, because there obviously is a place for that. However, we need to add a strategic and powerful string to our bow, a string that will evaluate the current situation such as trade wars, and warn of things like cash flow crises and the impact of future sales and prices. Just ask Tesla, which has suffered a massive collapse, wiping out hundreds of billions since December of market value. I am not just painting a picture where all is lost. I am also proposing a solution whereby I can show that within a day, glossy financial statements can be converted from a completely PDF document to an Excel document. Then, all we need to do is link the trial balances to the glossy financial statement formats, and then we can get real-time AFS on any day, not just at month-end or year-end. And we can get management accounts that we want in user-friendly formats at the click of a button. The link from the accounting package whereby data can only be read by Excel can then complete the circle. To clarify, we can then get a link into Excel from top accounting and popular international accounting packages, and then once it is in Excel on a read-only format, we as chartered accountants can then put it into the format that we wanted. I've already done it. It can be done, and with IT accounting and accounting experience using an Excel VBA bespoke model, I have built it. Thus, in this world that we live in, where there is talk of going to Mars, self-driving cars, AI silently taking over the world, and tech companies calling the shots, the reason that we do not have real-time financial information in an IFRS format on a daily basis cannot be because of complex accounting systems. We can, and I have shown that it is possible, so that we can go through and we can cut through the clutter. More information will follow, but I have included a YouTube video on my website showing how all of this is technically possible and showing a demonstration of the model. This is not an advert. The last thing that we want is for the world to say, yes, chartered accountants are very good at looking at and expressing an opinion on historical financial information and historical information only. However, we need a new body that will advise us on the reality of the current situation as it unfolds. The analogy is made that if you go to a heart surgeon because you had a sharp pain in your chest last night, 29 March 2025, and are afraid that you are having a heart attack and will be leaving your family behind, you will not want the heart specialist to produce a 100 plus glossy page report showing that you were perfectly fine as of 31 December 2024. That report will not be relevant or timely, and yet this is what we are doing. We need to undo it or face extinction as a profession that is not relevant or timely, and that is not holding up these principles, which are cornerstones of what we said we will do. This is a promised post from my website called vivek.co.za. The tagline is provoking thought to enlighten, simmer, resonate, and maybe inspire action. The time for challenge and for change is now.